Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Councilmember Bragg.
Here.
Councilmember Spriggs.
Here.
Councilmember Bilbray.
Here.
Mayor Gianni.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Patton is absent.
And the Mayor Pro Tem did talk to me this week, and he has, as you all know, he's a school teacher, and he has an open house this evening. He's going to try to make it for the later part in the meeting, but I think that's very important. And so he just wanted to let you know that he was a little busy. So moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm real happy to say that after some discussion, the Imperial Beach Boy Scout Troop 866 is going to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Gentlemen, can you come forward? If you all please stand with me. And I'd like to say thank you once again for coming forward and helping us with that Pledge of Allegiance. It makes it feel good. Moving on to agenda changes. Do I have any agenda changes from my colleagues? Mr. Spriggs?
Mr. Mayor, I would respectfully ask that we pull consent items 2.4 and 2.5. 2.4 because it's a big contract item that we probably should at least get a short briefing on before we take action, and 2.5 because it's an important proclamation you're making and people ought to know about it.
Alrighty, so as in previous changes, we'll take items 2.4 and 2.5 at the end of the agenda. So I entertain a motion to move items 2.4 and 2.5 to the end of our agenda this evening. We have a motion and a second. Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Moving on to Mayor Council reimbursements, disclosures, and community announcements. Ms. Bragg?
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Spriggs?
Nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Bilbray? All right. Just to let folks know, I did travel in the last couple weeks. One of the trips was very important to Washington, D.C. It wasn't necessarily all about Imperial Beach, but I did have the opportunity to meet with some folks back there, and I'll further mention those when we get to item 5.2. So, thank you. Mr. Hall, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Public comments on items not on the agenda?
I have no speaker slips, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Then we'll go right to presentations, and we have a couple of really good presentations this evening. I'll start with Public Safety Director, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Manager. Tonight's a really special night. We have one of our own Imperial Beach firefighters that's being recognized and promoted to the position of fire engineer. Tyra Moe, please stand. And I'm going to bring the mayor down. But first, what I want to do is I want to talk about Tyra a little bit. Tyra's been with us for 7 years. Is that right? 7.5. Got to count that 6 months. But she's been a firefighter for a lot longer. And some of the things that she's done, and it's just incredible. I was looking at her resume that she brought to us, and some of the training and classes. I just want to go over them just a little bit. You know, she's got the Fire Mechanics Academy. She's got driver operator, the fire instructor. She's taken Fire Investigation 1A. Been an engine boss, which means that you're on a strike team and can manage an engine. She's actually certified as a scuba rescue diver. Trench rescue, ventilation, forcible entry, low angle rescue, command 1A, 1B, fire prevention 1A, 1B. There is just so many here that tell you this is a qualified person for the position of engineer.
I've been asked to be able to present this badge to Tyra's father, Doug, and for him to be able to pin Tyra. And just one of the things beyond what Chief Clark mentioned, how much Tyra and her cohorts out here from the fire department really do for the city of Imperial Beach, besides being firemen. You participate in a lot of things in town, and we really thank you for that. Doug?
Thank you, Mayor.
I think Tyra, you know, and another thing that Tyra has done for us is the last 2 open houses, at least, it's coming up in October, where the firehouse is opened up. She's coordinated with all the people that come in and talk about community events and what's available to everybody. And I think right now she's going to take family and friends over to the fire station and do a little celebration. So again, congratulations, Tyra. Okay, next, we're going to bring down the mayor, and we're going to talk about recognizing people that put on the fireworks for the city of Imperial Beach and also the Sun and Sea Festival. With that, I'd like to bring up Ron Powell from the port and Sophie from the port of San Diego. Okay, Port of San Diego. And this is, okay, this is Tim and Kathy Unger. Please come up. Andy, I'm sorry. Okay. Port.
We're doing the port first.
Yes.
So what we have here is for the Independence Day fireworks. The port also helped us on this. A lot of it had to do with the Big Bay boom. And as everybody here in Imperial Beach knows, we have a great partnership with the Port of San Diego. So on behalf of the city, thank you, Ron, and hopefully the electric commissioners know that we appreciate everything they do.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Appreciate that. My colleague here, Sophie Bayardo,
Thank you.
also works with us. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you. So once again with the 4th of July fireworks, and it started with 2 individuals that came to the city council, I believe, and asked for some help, some consideration to put on what was really a volunteer effort. They stepped up to the plate. It was probably, in my opinion, as good a fireworks show anywhere in San Diego County that evening. And I'd like to honor Tim O'Neill and Candy Unger for all they've done and to actually really bringing back Independence Day to us here in Imperial Beach. So thank you very much.
Okay. The other part of the show was the Sun and Sea Festival, and recognizing key sponsors in that. Again, the Port of San Diego.
We've already said plenty for the port,
Thank you, Mayor.
but we we also have a new partner in this thing, and Ron, once again, let your folks know that we appreciate it. Cal-Am Water really stepped up to help the Sun and Sea Festival. They were in the very beginning of it, and they're local here to us. They provide services to us, but they're also very involved in the community. So I'd like to thank both Chris and Brian Barretto from Cal-Am. Thank you very much for helping us. And now what we have is the folks that really took the extra effort to put on a fantastic event this past summer. And I'd like to start with Shirley and Leah, who really spearheaded this together. And I'm going to ask them, I know we have a presentation for them, but I'm going to ask them to introduce those they feel that really helped behind the scenes, in front of everybody. I do have these for Shirley and Leah, but I would like you to go ahead and invite those up, and we'll present to other folks that you think need honoring here.
There's one silent partner that, it isn't getting a plaque, but the city of Imperial Beach was such a great partner for us in this event. And Tom and his crew, and Dean sitting here somewhere. I mean, they worked, and Hank. So, I mean, we just have to say, it was a real partnership with the city, and it couldn't have happened without you guys being part of our team.
She just took all my words. Because I'm telling you, I have been in the city a little over 50 years, and I have never, ever seen such cooperation between our community and the government. This came together. It would not have happened without the city backing it. The financial support of Cal-Am and the port. Thank you. I'm so glad, heartened to hear that we're moving forward already with next year. So put it on your calendar, July 18th. Okay, and it's moving forward. But this community came together in a way which was just absolutely remarkable. We didn't receive a dozen sponsorships. We had thousands and thousands of dollars just donated. People were
Can
pulling
you
out
give her the
$5
microphone?
or
You have
$20.
to do the microphone for us, because it goes on recording that way.
Okay. So people were just dipping into their pockets and giving us money just randomly. It was wonderful. And at farmers market, Sharon, you sat there and put the bucket out for people to donate, and people came out. We had almost 200 volunteers. I'm looking at it. Half this room was volunteering at the event. And if you weren't volunteering at the event, you were walking the parade. And I just want to thank all of you, because you made it happen. We helped spearhead it. The dream was, as soon as we saw U.S. Open Sandcastle disappearing, we wanted to resurrect a community event and really make it ours. And this last summer, you all proved to us that it is ours, and we're excited that it went so very well. We raised over $100,000 for our local community. The Boys and Girls Club got over $15,000. Mar Vista got over $5,000. That's all because of just a huge amount of effort from so many people who want to say thank you. And in doing so, we want to say thank you to our committee members.
You want another mic? Leah, I'll give you another
Now I need a microphone. Okay. Valerie Aceves. Valerie was in charge of reorganizing the judging and getting the judges together for all the Sandcastle events. And each committee member really had something they were in charge of, and they had to do it. I mean, and that was pretty amazing, because we actually had a committee that did. Sharon Kopp. Sharon is our all-around volunteer, get the word out. Any job that we couldn't figure out, I think Sharon was on every committee. I think that's just kind of how that worked. Leonard Gonzalez, our IB posse, who really helped us figure out how to communicate with the masters and how we were going to get a lot done in addition to being a master in his own right. Nellie Hazel. Nellie not only came to meetings, but she took notes, copious notes for us to keep us on track. We were all amazed by that. So, official note taker and all around helper. Erica Lowry. Erica took it upon herself to resurrect and manage the parade. And what an undertaking that became. Kim Paris, I see you back there, Kim. Kim not only manages IB Beautiful, but she took it upon herself to manage all the vendors and the plots and all things Portwood Plaza. So it's amazing.
Great community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
That was a hard job, too. He's looking for pictures.
Candy Younger must have had the July of her life, because not only did she, and we saw her actually, some of us, and she took care of the Sandcastle Ball and Mar Vista, and Nellie did help her with that, but. Everybody that's here. I did want to thank Christine and the bid, because they actually came in and helped us with some money and some support. And I,
The Business Improvement District donated, I believe, $4,500 to, to make this happen. And Sophia was at so many of the meetings to help us all, just facilitate the activities that we were doing out on the court plaza. So thank you. Thank you all.
And just because Tom wanted to make sure you got a little something out of this evening, here's a refund of some of the fees that were charged. The city is giving back to the committee. And thank you very much for both of what you've done. And there were several other folks that they wanted to honor, just couldn't make it thing. And I think it's everybody that volunteers. We forget to appreciate them, but we really all do. So thank you for putting them together. Thank you.
A meeting yesterday afternoon of a large portion of the business community along Seacoast Drive. The issue of changing the parking regulations along the lines that has been previously accepted by the council and is now going to go into the ordinance were suggested, and the city manager, who was co-presiding over that, was able to say, we're already about to take action on that tomorrow. And I think that was just so wonderful that the business community was able to hear right on the spot that the city is being responsive to those concerns. I think the surfing community probably feels the same way if they had been there. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Thank you. Moving on to reports, item 5.1. I'd like to ask our Human Resources Manager, Erica Cortez, and welcome. Is this your first presentation for us?
That is correct, Mayor Jennings.
Okay.
So excuse if I get nervous.
No.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Mayor Hall. Since it is my first time presenting to the council, I'm going to introduce myself so the general public get to know me. My name is Erica Cortez, and I'm the Human Resources Manager for the City of Imperial Beach, and tonight I have the honor of presenting item for 5.1.
Could you, because you're introducing yourself, could you let everybody know how long you've been with the City of Imperial Beach?
I've been here 15 years.
In various positions, and has moved up to this position, right?
Well, the fact is that a lot of my items are, general business, and they normally go under consent, and only specific items will go under report. Plus, recently I've been promoted. Not recently, a couple of years ago, I've been promoted to the Human Resources Manager, and that's why I have the privilege of being here today.
Well-deserved promotion.
Thank you. Staff received input from Mayor Council and, I'm sorry, Mayor Jenny and the council, members of the City Council regarding some release of CalPERS, the city's contracts with the CalPERS in health benefits and retirement. And the CalPERS released the 2015 health insurance premiums. They demonstrate a really substantial increase out-of-pocket cost to our employees compared to this current year, 2014 to 2015. So under the council's direction, staff went ahead and met with our labor negotiation teams in good faith. We met and conferred in good faith, and we set those terms that are presented in the item in front of you, side letter agreements with the Imperial Beach Fire Association and the Service Employee International Union. This side letter basically makes changes to address the out-of-pocket cost comparison. In a summary, what we went to the groups is that the current out-of-pocket costs will not be greater in 2015. We did create a few analysis. We tried to address this item because we weren't expecting the substantial increases. One of the things that we did, we went to our jurisdiction cities and tried to compare what they're providing, so we kind of tag along. That wasn't a good result. One of the popular plans that we have with the city currently it's one of the less expensive plans. However, assuming that the employees will continue with that benefit, it really demonstrates still a significant increase. So after the analysis and met and confer process, tonight we have in front of you a resolution, a single resolution that will cover 4 items. That would be to approve and adopt resolution number 2014-7516, which would approve and adopt the side letter agreement to the MOU with the Imperial Beach Fire Association, and also a side letter agreement for the MOU with the Service Employee International Union. In addition to, as it has been past practice, to continue these health benefit changes to unrepresentative management employees, and amend the fiscal year 2014-2015 city budget to allocate and appropriate these necessary funds. So I am prepared to answer any questions if you have, or go into further discussion.
So I'm going to try to put it in terms of where I see it, and you can clarify a little bit. We were notified, actually you were notified, and then you let the council know that there was going to be some significant cost to our health insurance, and the council took a position that we had provided compensation for our employees at a certain level without anticipating this kind of an increase, and we didn't think it was fair. So that's why we asked you to come forward and negotiate with those bargaining units to make it an agreement that we could all live with, because we wanted to make sure our employees felt like they were appreciated as well as compensated adequately. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mayor Jenny.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Cortez on this? Ms. Bragg?
I just wanted to make a comment that I'm not going to speak for my colleagues, but it was unanimous. This was the right.
Mayor and council and city manager, as you can see, that was a fantastic team of people that were volunteers that worked many, many hours to pull off not only fireworks, but a Sun and Sea Festival that had a parade. And I think it came off really well. The report that you have in front of you summarizes what we did for the events. It discusses what the city was involved in. It talked about our sponsors, Cal-Am, and particularly the Port of San Diego. How the Port of San Diego came in last year and started the Sun and Sea Festival up and then handed it off to this great group of people. And believe it or not, they're starting to meet this month again, and starting early, which has been a huge advantage to make this a successful show for next year. With that, if you have any questions or comments of me, it's pretty much in the report. I'm clear to answer those, and we'll make this short.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Clark? Not seeing anything. I think that was a great way to start a meeting, though, Chief, because between the Boy Scouts, yourselves, the Tyramo, and of course the Sun and Sea folks, couldn't make us feel better. So thank you very much for starting it off well.
You're welcome.
Now moving on to consent calendar, items 2.1 through 2.6, but we did move 2.4 and 2.5 to the end of the agenda. I entertain a motion. A motion and a second. Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Moving on to ordinance items 3.1, I guess we have the chief again.
Mayor and Council, it appears as though the chief has stepped out for a few minutes, so maybe I can just let you know what we're looking for is an introduction of an ordinance. Oh, here he comes right now, so I will let the chief carry on.
Excuse me for a second. I need to touch base with a couple of people. We're talking about a very narrow area that we defined as changing the hours that people can park by expanding them to from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the morning to allow beachgoers, surfers, other people that use the beach early in the morning to get down there. Also in the commercial corridor that we have down there off Seacoast, those street ends, we're talking about same thing early in the morning, 5 o'clock, but also extending it from 10 o'clock until 12, midnight. Everything except for the Dunes Park. We want to maintain all our parks at the same time so it's consistent for any type of enforcement there. The one thing for Dunes Park is that it goes to 5 in the morning, so anybody that wants to surf and comes in early and parks there, that's not an issue. So what you have in front of you is the staff report. We've identified about $4,000 worth of expense to change the signage that identifies that. Also, the one part that I want to say that in the staff report we need to make a change is in relation to IB Boulevard. The staff report is incorrect. The ordinance is correct that IB Boulevard will go from 5 in the morning until 12 midnight. That's because we're going to get a new hotel there. We're also going to get a restaurant across the street has patrons that do park across that area. We don't want anybody to enjoy a meal that's ready to have a meal, coming in late, watching a baseball game, a football game, or something like that, and then walk out and find a ticket on their windshield at 10:01. So this solves that problem. It also solves the problem for early morning surfers that come in and want to surf and park early just before gray light and get out in the water and go surfing. In your packet is pictures that reflect the situation down there on the beach, with the exception of I wanted to show you IB Boulevard. That is the change in the format, and I've corrected that with this ad. And all it is just shows the accurate time that's on there, which is in the ordinance itself as written correctly. It's just that the time was incorrect on the printout. With that, I'm open for any questions.
So short and sweet, Chief. We're moving it from midnight to 5 a.m. is when it's shut down on the parking.
Correct. Except south of IB Boulevard, it stays at 10 o'clock at night in that residential area, but 5 o'clock in the morning there.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for the chief on this item? I mean, we did have a little discussion of this a few months ago, so they finally brought us back. So not hearing anything more, entertain a motion to introduce and hold the first reading of ordinance 2014-1147 by title only. Oh, go ahead. You okay?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I need to read the title.
Okay. Could you please?
Ordinance number 2014-1147 of the City of Imperial Beach, California, amending section 10.36.160 and adding section 10.36.161 of the Imperial Beach Municipal Code related to parking regulations on street ends west of Seacoast Drive.
So I entertain a motion to introduce to hold the first reading of the ordinance by title only and waive further reading in full and schedule the second reading and adoption of the ordinance on October 1st. We have a motion and a second. You sure can.
I'd just like to comment that
Fair thing to do. So, Erica, the only thing that you left out was the time frame on this.
Right.
Thank you, Councilman Bragg. This is a temporary a temporary change. We do have memorandum of understandings, MOUs in place with both of our bargaining groups, which will expire June 30th, 2015. That is the MOU. The health benefits are calendar year, January 1 to December, because we have that, memorandum of understanding in place with the unions. This will be a 6-month term, so it will be from January 1, 2015, to June 30th, 2015, and they are subject to continue bargaining negotiations.
Thank you. I just have one question. Erica, you used the word significant. The impact was significant to our employees. Do you have that statistic, or can you reference that?
Yes, I do. It's actually also addressed in the staff report, but I'll be more than happy. The premiums increases are between 2% and 22.73%. As I indicated earlier, the most popular plan that we have, selected by the employees, which is less expensive in 2014, but is still substantially expensive, it is 22.73%. So in numbers, that is in percentage, in numbers, we can see an increase between $158 to $220 more out-of-pocket cost than what they were currently already have.
Any other questions for Ms. Cortez? Go ahead, Mr. Spriggs.
Thank you very much for your excellent first report. I guess the question I had is, unlike some other employers that I have worked for, the city of Imperial Beach allows employees who have health insurance from another source and are opting out of health insurance here to also receive an equivalent amount, as though the whole compensation is part of one compensation package: the health insurance, the salary, other benefits, etc. So I assume that there are some employees that are going to get essentially a bump in that amount, even though they're not being assessed health insurance increases. Is that correct?
Greg, would you like to address that?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, we've actually, in a prior MOU with both labor negotiation groups, we've capped the amount that, let me rephrase the question. You're saying that employees who are covered under other insurance, not with the city, can take the cash benefit that otherwise would be used to pay for medical insurance? That has been capped, and we've moved away from that practice so that employees today, if hired after July 1st of 2011, that amount is capped at $150, regardless of the plan they're covered by, if they're covered outside our health insurance. So they do not get the full benefit, cash benefit, that employees opting into our health coverage do. So we limit that amount to, at this point, $150. There are some other employees hired prior to that date that also have a capped amount at $400.
And if I may add, this has been in place already in the current MOU, so it's been more than a year now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions on this item? I think you did a great job in rushing to this. We didn't give you a lot of time. I think, Ms. Cortez, we should all understand it really did a lot to get this, because normally these things take quite a bit of time, but we thought, because of the way the government open season works, that we had to present something to the employees so they can make a logical choice in what they're doing. So I think I'd like to thank you very much for doing that. And I think that obviously we seem to have made the right decision on Human Resources Manager. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity of being here tonight.
So what we have before us is a motion to adopt Resolution 2014-7516 and the side letters of the agreement. We have a motion and a second. Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Thank you once again. Moving on to item 5.2. Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This item is seeking your authorization to issue a letter on behalf of the city, signed by the mayor, for the Navy's proposed coastal campus at the Silver Strand Training Complex, otherwise known as STIC. That's SSTC. Affectionately known by some of our residents as just north of the Elephant Cage, and also known as the Naval Radio Receiving Facility. The project for which they've prepared an environmental impact statement, that's what an EIS is. It's similar to an EIR, only it's through the National Environmental Protection Agency, which is a national document, and they replaced the word study with report. This is for a proposed academic coastal campus at that facility, that area. It's basically consolidating the Naval Special Warfare Command that is presently primarily housed in the naval base, Naval Amphibious Base and Naval Base Coronado, as well as a little bit elsewhere in the county. And they're trying to put all of those facilities into one base just north of the Elephant Cage, that antenna you see there today, which, by the way, will be removed here shortly. The proposal calls for roughly 1,400,000 square feet of building area to house those training and academic facilities, and approximately 3,300 personnel. As you can imagine, that is that size of facility, which is expected to be built over a 10-year period, with build-out proposed by 2024, could have some potential impacts on the surrounding community. The letter outlines our concerns, ours being staff concerns. I wanted to point out that as part of the review process, the Navy conducted 2 workshops recently, one on August 13th at the Marina Vista Center and one at the Coronado Library on August 14th. The letter outlines proposed comments on the EIS in primarily the areas of traffic and circulation, utilities, some issues regarding stormwater, and then cumulative impacts. The letter is fairly specific, and staff would be happy to respond to any particular comment in the letter. If I could summarize the major issue, is that given that this facility is proposed by 2024, the EIS has identified both potential impacts and significant impacts to traffic and circulation, primarily along the Palm Avenue State Route 75 corridor. We're requesting, and they've identified mitigation measures to accommodate or handle those potential impacts. The letter, in several instances, requests that the Navy work with the cities of Imperial Beach and Coronado, as well as with Caltrans, to not only identify those impacts, but mitigate them and implement those mitigation measures with construction of the project, and primarily focusing on the signal phasing along that corridor, all the way from what is proposed to be the North Entry Gate all the way to Interstate 5. We believe, through work on our own with the Palm Master Plan, that revisiting the signal phasing of that corridor is a primary component of making sure that traffic circulates efficiently in the future. The other issue that, or comment that was addressed, is how and when the southern gate of NRRF would be utilized in the future. Right now, the southern gate, which accesses the facility through Imperial Beach at Silver Strand Way, is the only primary entrance into the facility today. The comments made in the letter express a concern about that. We've requested in the letter that commuting hours be restricted for personnel, and that it only be used primarily as a non-commuting hour entry and exit point. And that the north gate proposed well up Silver Strand be the primary focus for entry and exit into the facility. Those are some of the key highlights of the comments. And again, staff would be happy to respond to any questions or comments you might have on the letter.
Thank you. And just to start off, I mentioned earlier in the agenda, I had the opportunity to meet with Admiral French, who is the Navy Installations Command back in Washington, D.C. It wasn't necessarily the topic of the meeting, but I did interject it from Imperial Beach really does support the United States military here in town, but we had some serious concerns on the traffic that might impact our bedroom community. He listened to that. I also had an opportunity to speak with our Congressman Juan Vargas separately on it with the same concerns, and also Mayor Kevin Faulkner from the city of San Diego, because Highway 75, as we know, is not just limited to Imperial Beach. So whatever traffic improvements we're going to be requesting the military put in would also affect the city of San Diego. And all those totally understood our concerns. And hopefully those kind of outreaches will help us move further along. And along with that, I also talked with, I see on the list of folks that we're sending this letter to, Lori Berman, who's the district director for Caltrans, because Caltrans does technically own Highway 75, though we're the ones that are impacted by it. So I think all those folks see what we're talking about. It's very difficult for the United States military to figure out how to put improvements outside the gates. But I think in this case, they might be really entertaining, helping us as far as the traffic concerns. I did talk to Mayor Pro Tem Patton, knowing that he was not going to be able to make this meeting, and his concerns are very similar to what Mr. Wade addressed with traffic, especially in the community just south of the Silver Strand Gate. And I know that the staff has put together a report that requests that that gate be open only during the midday. I recommend that we ask that that gate be closed, and except for emergency operations of some other. I think there's too much traffic in a very small bedroom area to warrant that. I mean, the benefits that we may see from this military facility are still going to be in Imperial Beach. We're closer than anywhere else for those young folks that are going to be working for the military up there to go have a lunch, get food, whatever other things, pharmacies that they might want will be their place to go. The military right now doesn't look like they're putting in cafeteria facilities, which really could benefit some of our food service businesses in town. So there is a lot of positive for this. I think it's going to be a real push now that this letter's out, is to partner with all these people, and that's what it really takes to get these improvements put in. It's very interesting that there's a assembly member that doesn't represent us here in Imperial Beach, has an assembly bill before up in Sacramento that requires traffic sequencing that might have some other reasons than what Imperial Beach is looking for, but any of those things can help us. So I think that the motion is there to get the traffic moving on Highway 75. We're even impacted by it today without this facility, so I think it's important for us to get out in front of it. And that would be my comments looking at the letter to start off with, and I'm willing to listen and see what else we might want to add to that. But I really believe we should ask them to close that southern gate. And there might be opportunities in the future to do something different, but we've got to see how this works. We don't want to run into situations some of the local communities have. So, Ms. Bragg?
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for your efforts with other local officials. You didn't mention the city of Coronado, and have you had discussions with them? In our packet, there's a letter from the city of Coronado, which I found to be a little opaque in certain areas, and was actually hoping for something a little bit stronger from them, although we're going to be impacted more than they are. So
I actually have. I've talked to Mayor Tanaka. I've talked with the city manager up there. I know Andy has talked with the city manager. The real thought behind this, and it's get all people together here, is to go in beyond this letter with the city of Coronado, the city of San Diego, of course the city of Imperial Beach, and Caltrans, and use that as that we're all working together as one for a system that fixes that. Coronado did address some things that have no effect on us, but in past we've always partnered with them, whether it be airport facilities or in this case Highway 75.
I'm also hoping that Sandag will be at the table in those discussions, because they have some great input into this project. I would like to point out that our partners at 9th and Palmer here, Sudbury. So thank you for that, because you have an agenda item later, but I'm really glad that you came early to hear this, because these developments, also Bernardo Shores, are huge. And I'm sure when you heard of this, your heart started beating a little bit faster, just like the rest of us. Mr. Wade, you have done an excellent job in pointing out the key issues of concern that I think that we all have. But we have to get this right from the beginning. I mean, we just cannot let this get out of control or have our concerns falling on the wayside. This is huge for the city of Imperial Beach, and if it's not done correctly, we will rue the day that we didn't pay attention to the details. Mr. Wade, you talked about the levels of service, and historically that has been one of my pet peeves on Highway 75. And when I see the LOS going down to maybe E, you know, believe me, my heart was having heart attacks, and you've mentioned that a number of times in the letter, so I really appreciate that. We've heard from members of the community as well, and I'm sure you all have too, gotten letters and texts, and talking about the traffic circulation, and the issue of that gate. There are, Mr. Wade, I want to make sure I'm clear on this. Were those new projects that are in the pipeline, were those considered when the Navy was doing this work, or not? And to what level? Because those projects in and of themselves are going to be a huge impact as well.
I guess the best way to answer that, Councilmember Bragg, is to say that some of them were, some of the larger projects were. There were a few others that were not considered, but some of the larger projects were considered, so they were factored into the analysis. And even if they're not, the projects that are coming forward now will, on our side of the ledger, if you will, take this into consideration.
Okay, well, I noticed that you had included projects even on the other side of town. Mayor, you really hit the nail on the head, too, as far as what this could mean for our business community. And that's something that we're always looking out for as well. First and foremost, you know, is our concern for the residents in Imperial Beach as well. So that's why I say this project has got to be done correctly from the get-go. It can't be something that is approved, you know, with just a gloss over. Mr. Wade, do we have a timeline? And I did have a question on the 2 workshops that they had, the open houses that they had, and what the attendance was, and are they planning more of them? And were the community's comments forwarded to the Navy?
I can't comment on the workshop held in Coronado. I did not attend that one. This one here was very well attended, very active, very engaged. There was stations that handled each area of analysis for an EIS, and members of the project team in the Navy to respond to those questions. All of those questions will be incorporated into response to comments. The response period for the EIS ends on September 22nd. That's why we're here tonight seeking approval of this letter. Comments can be provided directly to the Navy, and you can do that through their website as well. And beyond that, I believe they are scheduled to go to the Coastal Commission for federal consistency determination in the month of October. I can't say for sure, but I believe that's when they're scheduled for Coastal Commission consideration of a federal consistency determination, after which they will prepare the response to comments and circulate those for review as well, and then finalize the EIS. I don't know that I've heard a projected beginning of construction anticipation at this point, but my guess is well into the next calendar year.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Spriggs?
Thanks for the update, and this, I agree, is a very comprehensive, well-done response on the issues. This is very important for Imperial Beach. I was at the workshop across the street. I got a chance to meet the base commander and other officers who were there, and technical people who were there. And I have to say that I think they were at their very top level of wanting to express cooperation, with all of the Imperial Beach community members who were there and city staff. A lot of our city staff were there. And I found that they were very willing to answer questions on the spot and solicitous of further comments in writing from everyone. They even had a stenographer there to take on-the-spot comments, which I thought was quite good. The stations were well done. I think this is extremely big for Imperial Beach, as everyone else has remarked so far, and it's obviously a big project, or they wouldn't even have had to put on such a show, which was very substantial investment of resources in that workshop on the part of the Navy and their consultants. I think we need to add something else here, Mr. Wade, that maybe falls between the cracks. Identification of projects is a very time-limited way of looking at things that are impacted, even traffic flows, etc. But we have a developing community here, particularly our visitor serving and tourism serving engines of growth and employment in Imperial Beach. The new hotel probably was already to some extent factored in. It was just mentioned earlier in the meeting tonight that there's potentially a second hotel. Other waterfront developments are taken cognizance of, presumably in the EIR. In terms of water quality, environmental quality, all these impacts that we know are going to happen that they admit in the EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement, are going to be impacts. But we have to, I think, make very sure that that the Navy understands that we have a major set of investments taking place here in ensuring that we have access to good, clean, healthy, water-based activities for our community and for our growing tourism industry. And that the future project of another hotel that could, have somewhere between 70 and 100 rooms, etc., is part of that consideration. If for no other reason than as the project develops to give us some degree of entree and leverage to go back and say, hey, wait a minute, we let you know that we are, we're not Coronado, but we are a growing visitor-serving, tourism-based economy here, as well as a small beach town residential community, and you're starting to impact our bread and butter. We need to be able to say that and to go to our if we need to, and go to our congressional supporters and others if we need to, because we've already provided that information that we have these concerns and they need to be taken into consideration. Obviously, we've been historically great neighbors with the Navy. We tolerate a lot because we support our military here, and they're part of us as our residential residing in Imperial Beach and frequenting our businesses, and we're integrated with the military here. But we really do have to, as we did in the case of the helicopter noise when they started overflying the city while repairs were being made on the base, we really do have to stand up for ourselves from time to time. And I agree with Councilmember Bragg that this is big and this is something that we are going to have to pay close attention to because we can't foresee all of the negative effects that this might have. Those that we can foresee, and I think the mayor was very clear in the gate issue, if they are a little bit late in the new gate and they want to use the existing gate while they have a construction problem or phasing or whatever on the new gate up 75, then we're impacted. So there are all kinds of potential ways in which we can't even foresee as clearly as we can foresee that one, that we may be impacted by this. And so to state what our character is as a community and where we're going, and that we are, in some ways, just as concerned as Coronado would be about beach quality, tourism, etc., then I think we also align ourselves with Coronado on the other side in being able to assert any need for change in their plans as they evolve in the future. So we can figure out a way to sort of get that notion in and preserve our position in the future, depending on how things go, which are not totally foreseeable right now. Thanks.
Yeah, and I just want to point out for everyone's benefit that, again, this is the beginning of the process. This is an environmental review to identify potential environmental impacts. This will not be the last opportunity that the City Council has to offer suggestions for mitigation of those impacts. And so the key tonight was for the City Council to review the potential impacts, certainly not to bless the construction of the project or not comment in the future, but again, to identify those critical key environmental impacts of the project. So just want to make sure everyone knows this is the beginning of the road, not the end, and that's important to make that note.
I'm hearing, what we have before us is the letter that would be going forward under the comment period before the 22nd. I would like to modify the letter to include closing the south gate. And thinking about it, because of what Mr. Spriggs said, I think in that letter we should say construction of the north gate is first before construction of anything else, because even in the meantime, construction equipment coming down Silver Strand Boulevard is not going to cut it. And as I jokingly talked with Mr. Hall, Silver Strand Boulevard belongs to the city of Imperial Beach, and it could be under repair for 10 years if the Navy doesn't want to do it that way. No. So I think we need to put it in here, that what we're asking for and why we're putting it. And I think those things should be added to what Mr. Wade and the staff has put together for our response. Ms. Bragg?
My button's acting up over here, so I don't know what, if it, is it, okay.
Good.
I agree with you on that and would support that. Mr. Wade, I have a question on your numbering. Are these prioritized in any certain way, or can we rearrange them?
They weren't organized in any priority. No, they're just in
Don't they follow the
subject
EIS?
area. Yeah.
Subject area. They follow the EIS.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is that I've highlighted number 2, and I don't really want to upset your apple cart as far as your response to, how they have presented it, but it was my estimation that number 2, number 5, 7, 8, and 9 are extremely important. That's on page 2 and 3, Mr. Wade. As far as addressing, that we don't have an impact system fee, those are, we're asking the Navy, we're putting it out there that, hey, we don't have the funding for this, and you need to be, we're telling you right up front that you need to be recognizing that, and that that's an issue. And again, the levels of service, from item number 7, and then 8 and 9, Mr. Wade, I certainly don't want to, like I said, I don't want to upset your referencing to their document, but certainly, in my opinion, those are key issues that, if you want to put them in bold print, or if you want to reiterate them again later in the letter, those were just some of the items that really struck me as being critical to our response.
So, Mr. Wade, can I ask you, can we put in an extra paragraph at the beginning highlighting those items that Ms. Bragg identified as being the major concerns, but would also like to have answers to the rest of the questions that you put forward?
Yes, we can.
How do you think that would affect our response, having done these type of things before?
I don't know that it would affect it at all, other than stating in the beginning of the letter as a point of emphasis that those are primary concerns.
Okay.
I think it would just, as Councilmember Bragg suggested, emphasize those elements. I don't know that the idea would be to eliminate them as points from the letter, just to put them as a paragraph.
I think we should highlight those items, though. So, do we want to go through which the ones those were again?
I can. Might be easier to leave out the.
I got 2, 7, 8, and 9.
That's what I'd got. 2, 7, 8, 9.
1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 9, 12, 16, and 18.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they're,
Uh-oh,
but those
uh-oh.
are some, Mr.
The-
Wade, what you could do is some of those numbers that are related as far as the levels of service, because I think that's mentioned 3 different times in the document. That would be fine if you wanted to lump those all together. I'll leave it maybe at your craftsmanship, but I think you get the gist of my suggestion.
Okay, I think that's good, and because we're gonna, so do we have, do we need to take a motion on this line? Okay, so what I would propose then is a motion to adopt a letter with the modifications to highlight those things Ms. Bragg referenced, but also to include in the letter closing the south gate and the construction of the north gate needs to be first before any other construction on the facility. I think that would more or less get the letter. As Mr. Hall mentioned, this is going a lot of different places before they start bringing in the bulldozers. They've got to go to the Coastal Commission, that federal consistency. That's not the easiest thing in the world. So they've got to do a lot of other things. We just want to make sure they know what our concerns are. And then, of course, I will continue to work with our neighboring cities and other folks, including the congressmen and stuff that might be able to help us. So, is that adequate for you? I make that motion?
That they're going to have to contend with the fact that our environmental concerns and uses of beachfront are growing, not just as a population growth matter, but as an intentional tourism development trend that is just going to be happening. And so as they are growing in certain ways, so are we. And that is an important thing to put on the record, I think. I don't think it takes,
No, it doesn't.
a lot to do that.
Mr. Wade, do you have that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would include that in my motion then. Then we have a second. Before we vote on this, Mr. Wade, Mr. Hall, do you think you have enough that we can bring this back and be able to get my signature on it?
Yeah, and I just want to make sure everyone recognizes that there is representation from the Navy here tonight. I'm sure they've been listening and taking good notes. And our liaison, Mr. Wes Beaumier, is here tonight, and I'm sure has heard the comments of the council and has met with the mayor on numerous occasions to
And
understand
just to
this
let you
issue.
know, Wes works directly for Captain Sun, the base commander for Naval Base Coronado, which includes this new facility as well as our helicopter facility here. So he definitely has the contacts with the right people.
Just as a point of clarification, it would be staff's direction from council, assuming the motion passes and the letter gets approved, to redraft that portion of the letter and work with the mayor to finalize it for signature, because
We've got to get it out before the 22nd.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
And
gotta get it out.
One thing I also wanted to stress, as I often do, that given the complexity and importance and scale of this project, we had every department head comment, read this, at least the executive summary. Most of them attended the workshop, and what you see before you is, including the city manager, sort of a compilation of every comment that we could put together and think of in terms of importance to the city. So just because I'm presenting it doesn't mean it's all mine. And I say that in both a good and a maybe, challenging sort of way.
We'll wait to see how it turns out and then decide if we
Well, thank you. So we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Speaking of one of those future projects, moving on to item 5.3, we have Tyler Foltz.
Mayor, members of the council, this is for design and sign revisions for the Breakwater Commercial Center at 9th and Palm. The project was originally approved on December 14th, 2011, and the applicant is Sudbury Development. The project includes 7 new commercial buildings, 45,000 square feet of commercial space, an outdoor plaza, surface parking, landscape improvements, right-of-way improvements, etc. This is an aerial of the old site before it was demolished, but of course it's at the corner of 9th and Palm Avenue heading west. And this is the site plan for the project. And there are 7 separate buildings, one at the corner of 9th and Palm Avenue, and as you head west, there are 6 more buildings. There are 2 phases for the project. The first phase includes building A, B, C, D, and E, and that's what we're looking at tonight for the facade changes. We don't have the revisions for phase 2 yet. The developer may have some more information as to the phases. I know they've been thinking about doing all 1 phase or maybe 2. It's still in consideration, but right now we have phase 1 to look at tonight. Of course, the project has various access points. Here's the outdoor patio area, and we'll look at the various design features in the next few slides. For project information, when we approved the project, or the council approved a project, some conditions of approval were provided for in the resolution that stated that the corner of 9th and Palm, the building at the corner of 9th and Palm, needs to provide more distinctive and attractive focal point for the project. It needed to have more articulation, glass elements, varying roof lines, etc. Also, one of the conditions that applied to all the buildings was that the facades that were fronting the street needed to be pedestrian friendly and incorporate glass and other design features that would be friendly for pedestrians as well. So with that, the applicant at a later date would come to the city with the revised designs, and as they were incorporating these new revisions, they decided to provide more modern and timeless approach to all the facades. This is a picture of the previous design for buildings A, B, C, and D. And as you can see, this is the larger one at the corner of 9th and Palm Avenue. This is the elevation that was facing Palm Avenue, and that's why it was noted there's no entrance on Palm Avenue. It needed to provide some type of pedestrian friendliness to it. So that's why the recommendations were put in place in the resolution of approval. Following that, as you head east, these are the buildings, or heading west, these are the other buildings. And then we'll show you the new slide with the new design right now. This is the new proposal that's in front of us today. This is on Palm Avenue. The project now incorporates a new entrance with these tall glass windows and tower elements, varying roof lines and colors and materials. And I believe the applicant has some of the materials today to show after this presentation. This is the new eastern elevation on 9th Avenue. And what you don't see here is that there's a landscape buffer between the building and the sidewalk, which will obviously have landscape, but also have trees to help with articulation along that elevation and serve as a buffer. And these are new elevations as you head west on the project site. One of the newer features that was previously proposed, and I'll show you on the previous slide, they had this tower element before, but it was about 39 to 40 feet. And the new proposal is approximately 49 feet. What they're showing here, though, is new articulation for matching the lifeguard towers. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on that, but it has glass windows, and the angle here is facing towards the west like a lifeguard tower would. So it's a nice design feature that's being proposed. Also shown are 2 murals that would be proposed on the north and east elevations. The one on the north is showing a pier element at the beach. The one right now on the east is a sandcastle. Staff has a recommendation that may be implemented on the east, or at least considered. We'll show you that in a second. And this is just a comparison of the new design and the old design. So along Palm Avenue, and then this is on 9th Street. And then comparisons of buildings B, C, and D. New design on the top, previous design on the bottom. And what I didn't mention is that this lifeguard tower element also serves as a clock tower. And a comparison of all the buildings along, or at least phase 1 of the buildings on Palm Avenue. So the building on the northeast corner now provides pedestrian access from Palm Avenue. It has tall glass windows. It has murals on the north and east facades, varied roof lines, varied materials, colors, and it also has that clock tower element. And I mentioned that it has the lifeguard tower roof line, and with this element, the 49.5 feet would exceed the existing 40-foot height limit that's allowed in the CMU1 zone. However, the municipal code also allows for exceptions for buildings to exceed the height limit, and that would include utility towers or other similar structures. So that's what's being proposed for this project. It serves as a clock tower, which could be a public utility. In addition to that, though, it could also serve as a wireless facility because this increased height would serve as an optimal signal. Typically, when wireless providers come into Imperial Beach, they have to build freestanding structures, usually around 40 feet, but they have to do multiple of them because they can't, there's always some type of obstruction along the way. And a lot of it's because they don't have the buildings don't have the existing height to give them the optimal signal. So what the applicant's proposing is to have a structure that could already suit a wireless provider to come in the near future. And they have worked with other wireless providers on other sites that they own that locate in these type of structures. So with that, the tower may provide architectural interest because it has the that lifeguard tower element, utility to the public, which is the clock, and also serve as a wireless facility. And this is an example for a mural where staff was thinking about on the east elevation, similar in color and tone to the pier element that's shown on the north, but it would have a shorebird element, etc. But of course, this is open to suggestion. That the applicant is happy to hear of any design suggestions. These are colors and materials. It's somewhat hard to see on the PowerPoint here, and I think the applicant has the materials that he could show you. But it has various colors and various a sturdy design when you see the materials, which are much more modern than what was previously proposed. These signs are also being proposed for modification. This is the previous sign plan that was approved. It included 2 10-foot tall monument signs, 2 5-foot tall monument signs, and then a gateway display, which was approved as an architectural feature. This is the new sign plan that's being proposed. The monument signs would locate in the same spots, only 4 of them in total, 2 smaller ones at the far entrances and then 2 in the middle. Now the code allows for 1 monument sign per lot frontage. For this particular project, they have 7 lot frontages, so they could propose 7 separate monument signs, each 8 feet in height. At the time of approval in 2011, 2 of the monument signs were given a taller height of 10 feet to reduce the amount of freestanding signs because the council didn't want to have 7 separate monument signs throughout the site. The applicant didn't want that either. And with the new design, though, they're proposing to go to a little over 12 feet for those 2 taller monument signs. Now, there'd be no increase in sign area, but it would increase in height. And the main increase in height is due to the architectural feature to match in with the new tower element, the lifeguard element. That's what's really increasing the height of the signs. So they'd go from the approved 10 feet to they're proposing a little bit above 12 feet. With that, staff's opinion that the increased height for the 2 signs is preferable to having the additional monument signs throughout the site, 7 separate ones. And this is just a comparison of the new signs versus the previous signs. The ones on the left, those are during the day, and then the signs on the right is what it would look like at night. The Design Review Board reviewed the project last Thursday, September 11th. They voted to approve the project with the proposed design modifications with the height increases to both the tower element, the clock, and also to the monument signs. It was a 4-0 vote. 1 was absent. They appreciated the lifeguard tower elements, the updated facades. They felt that the new design would age well and fit in with the new hotel. They also recommended, though, that the clock be of a substantial size and not to shrink below what they're currently showing today. And here's a picture of the clock on the building. And they wanted to make sure that the landscape elements are implemented to deter any graffiti that may be provided on the east elevation. With that, staff recommends to receive the report, entertain public testimony, consider the design, and approve the design with these new facade modifications and determine that these revised plans substantially conform with the original approvals from 2011.
Do we have any public speakers on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Spriggs?
Thanks very much for the report. And just a couple questions. Did I understand you to say that the Design Review Board didn't have any significant changes or exceptions or concerns?
They did not. They like the new design.
Okay. Let me ask you about I think that was a very apropos comment about the clock size. I've seen projects before that had the incredible shrinking clock.
That's what they mentioned.
As it became constructed because of expenses and value engineering and all that, down to the size where it's meaningless. In fact, it's kind of an embarrassment, so I think that's a good proviso. The tower itself is shown in proportion to landscape palm trees at their maturity, which are around 40 feet, and this is about 47 feet, right? Is that correct?
It's about 49 feet, 49 and a half feet.
Yeah, 49 and a half. If there are wireless antenna involved here, are they all going to be internal and invisible in the tower, or are these going to have to be camouflaged in some additional way that isn't discussed at this point?
That would typically be a requirement to completely stealth within the existing tower. I'm not sure if they would have any minor modifications to the exterior that would be invisible, but typically whenever a project comes forward for a wireless facility, that's the first thing staff comments on, is to make sure it's stealth and you don't notice it.
Okay, let me rephrase that. If we are going to approve an exception to the height limit because there is a likely wireless antenna facility that would be incorporated into this, that's the reason for the additional height, then it needs to be clear that there's not going to be any additional design features that have to come to the council when that happens. I mean, this design should be able to incorporate at least what we know about current technology for wireless antenna into the interior of the tower, so that it's not, we don't see anything different that we then have to regret. I say that because only within the last 2 months have we approved artificial palms and other trees to mask these kinds of antenna previously, and it's a lot has been made of how to hide the hardware from view, and this is going to be extremely exposed and hard to hide if it isn't incorporated into the design of the tower. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, and I don't know whether our Sudbury colleagues would.
Well, I would like to know, just because this is within our purview.
Mm-hmm.
If they're putting cell equipment in this tower in the future, we can say no if they decide to put something on the outside of it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know. I hope you heard that.
I think the objective here, in answer to your question, is that from a design perspective, this is what the facility would look like as a wireless facility. You're looking at it. Wireless facilities require a conditional use permit, even if they are stealth, and therefore a proposed facility would come before you, the council, for review and approval of a CUP. And if they were proposing to do something different, as the mayor just suggested, the council would have discretion to say yes or no.
I don't have any more questions at this point. Thanks.
Ms. Bragg?
Thank you, and I'd like to thank Sudbury for being here. Mr. Wade, or Mr. Foltz, one of the things that is missing from your report is the explanation as to why, if we approve this on December 14th, 2011, why hasn't this thing been built yet? There's a lot of people in the audience who want to know.
I would like to have our folks from Sudbury Properties step up and answer that for us, because I don't think that's a staff answer.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to agree with you, because I think Mr. Wade could pinpoint exactly why this project hasn't been made. He's got just total recall, and obviously, folks, it has to do with the demise of redevelopment. is one of the key factors. Mr. Wade, in a few short sentences, if you could.
Oh boy.
And then certainly.
I will try in a few short sentences. We have been working in contract with Sudbury since September of 2009. And during that exclusive negotiation period, the state decided to dissolve redevelopment agencies, and that was a redevelopment project. The agency had purchased the property in February of 2009 to get a development going. Redevelopment was dissolved the legislation that dissolved it initially was in June of 2011. The approvals that we initially approved, including the ones tonight you're considering substantial conformance, were approved in December of 2011. Given that we'd made substantial progress, we felt we'd be safe in approving that agreement and the permits. The state of California didn't see it that way, and the dissolution process took the better part of 2 years to get through. The legislation that was approved in June of 2011 was revised in June of 2012, further complicating the dissolution process and lengthening the dissolution process. And it wasn't until January of 2014 that the Department of Finance, the state, blessed the project that you see before you that had been approved in December of 2011. So it was basically a 3-year process of going through the dissolution process with state requirements, submittals, reviews, meetings in the state capitol to get the project keep alive and get it approved by the State Department of Finance. So that's my short version of what happened. And then we have other jurisdictions involved, like Caltrans, which at the beginning of the project was a challenge, and still we're working through Caltrans on the encroachment permit. So it's been difficult. And then I'd like Sudbury to answer the rest of the question.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. And you did a great job, is illustrating why this project hasn't been built. It's through no fault of the city, certainly no fault to our developer, who has been at this since 2009. And I can't thank you enough for hanging in there with us. So please join us at the podium.
I'm excited. My name is Estine Lenyon with Sudbury Properties, partner, and literally honored to be here tonight. It's kind of emotional for all of us, I think. The partnership is so unique, and it's the reason that Sudbury has valued this relationship and this development opportunity. All the council members and mayor and city manager, but especially the stakeholders and your support for hanging in with us as we went through this. It's amazing because the size of the project, we were speaking with our team, putting together the next steps, and they said it was one of the most challenging projects that we've undertaken, and certainly that I've been involved with. But no bigger honor could there be than to have that opportunity with this city. We absolutely love and adore the city. We know the timing's phenomenal. We're privileged to be a part of all the growth. We see what's happening here, and we are really thankful for your support. So the applause really goes to you, and thank you for hanging in with us. We tried to pay it forward with this new design. We're very excited. I'm sitting there smiling as we're looking at it. As you'll notice from the older design, and we have Andy Stevenson here, in-house architect, to really explain a little bit more. But one of the things we decided to do was, Tom Sudbury, the founder of the company himself, said, we want to take the city of Imperial Beach and knock their socks off with our design. One of the requests from the very beginning has, please don't do anything less than what you do. And some of the best of what we did, and we think maybe the best, would be the Village Walk, which was always asked, we want something like Village Walk. We want something in that class. And so the architect that designed Village Walk is here. And in meeting with the Sudburys, we came up with, let's really take this to the next level. And we think that's what we're giving you today. We're very excited. The clock tower, and And please know that that clock size is not going to diminish. It might get a little bit larger because it's a signature center. It's your gateway. It means everything to us for not only the city of Imperial Beach, but for all the surrounding cities to go by and go, oh my goodness, what happened? So we tried to bring it at our highest level, and Andy's going to tell a little bit more about that. And we just thank you for your support. The timing is really in Caltrans's hands. We're expediting as fast as we can, so much so that right before I came in and before I sit down here, I was sitting on a mound of dirt about 30,000 cubic yards, literally, which is why I was coming in the door when I came in. I went over, inspected. Our teams are going over. We're going to be talking to the city and asking for help to see if there's a possibility to start getting some dirt on the site. And we are just, again, thankful for your support and sticking here with us. Thank you very much.
So I guess you're being sacrificed for the architectural part here.
Well, I'm certainly available to answer any questions. My name is Andy Stevenson with Andrew Hull Stevenson Architects, and I sublease space with Sudbury Properties, my biggest client over the years. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you folks may have relative to the design or anything in particular. I'm certainly available. As Estine said, we're very excited. One of the pros that Estine didn't mention of the delay, there's always a silver lining, is the retail market is vastly different than it was back in December of 2011. And so the caliber of tenants that we're discussing, in discussions with, and even many national tenants are very interested in being down here. And a lot of it is that, it is what's happening. I mean, what's happening in Imperial Beach, which is very exciting to be a part of, with the new hotel and the new Cone restaurant there, and that's a real coup. And so it sets the bar high, and so certainly we want to be at that bar or certainly higher. Any questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Could you clarify for me how many murals there's going to be? Is it 2 or 3?
2.
2. Okay. Do we get to have some input on the murals?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've talked with Greg and Tyler about it. We've talked internally. It was very interesting. It was actually kind of fun. When we put those murals on there, they're just placeholders of saying, wouldn't it be fun to have a mural? And I think that it was indicative of how well that idea was accepted, that Greg and Tyler got a hold of us and said, well, we're not sure about this one. What if we do something like this instead? So we have no preconceptions of what those would be. I mean, we've talked to different people. We talked to Elizabeth a little bit. I mean, there's people, whether it's a photograph, whether it's painting, we're open to suggestions. We want them to really relate to the community and to be something the community would be excited to have on the building.
Okay. I'm just going to, my personal preference, and I come from a very small town north of Santa Barbara that has approximately 47 murals, and it's a population about the size of Imperial Beach. It's Lompoc, California. Mm-hmm. And that is a huge draw for tourism. People go to that little city to look at the different murals. Most of them depict the history of that very small town. The history of Imperial Beach, I think, is really illustrated through our U.S. Open Sandcastle competition. That's what we're known for. So obviously I'm going to lean towards that. It's what we kind of hung our hat on as far as how somebody would identify Imperial Beach. And once you said, oh, Sandcastle Days, across, we've had coverage even in Russia about our Sandcastle Days. So that would be something that I would be extremely interested in seeing in one of the murals anyways. And the Mr. Wade or you as well, the top of the clock tower, and that caught my eye right away. I was like, I've seen that before. And then so that is spot on. Is that glass, and is that going to, with the setting sun, is that going to, what are the impacts of that?
Yeah, the way the clock tower has been designed, as Tyler put so well, it was inspired, not trying to be literally a lifeguard tower, but to certainly infer those sorts of characteristics that are found in lifeguard towers. But thus the sloping glass is a very dominant element in those kind of structures. The glass up at the top is intended to be a frosted glass, and so at night it'll be backlit. So this will glow up on the top, and then the clock tower would sit down below that. So this tower really is intended to be kind of an anchor to the center, and not just the center, but also that very important part of the 75 connection up to Coronado.
Very nice. Thank you.
The 360 view of the tower, especially the western elevation as you're coming down Palm Avenue, it's going to be very high and very prominent. Is that a similar glass treatment on that side as well, and what will that look like? We don't really have
Yes,
that
what
yet.
you're seeing on the elevation in your package is that glass where you see it stop at the elevation carries around at that same height all the way around and then onto the back side as well. So it's all four sides.
And I'd like to, I certainly agree with the mural idea that my colleague has mentioned. I think we should consider even more than 2 murals. Now, I don't know what that's going to do from a cost standpoint, but we were concerned, and you addressed our concerns about the eastern elevation, that is to say, looking at the side of the building we can see here on the upper left from 9th Street, that runs along 9th Street. Ms. Bragg, I think, is on the right track here, that there can be other aspects of breakwater that attract public attention. And it's certainly the architecture, but it's I think the content of the murals and the size and length of the murals. You could even conceive of, regardless of the theme, but I think the sandcastle theme is certainly very fitting. You could even think of a mural that would run a good portion of that wall. And now, I'm not trying to add, a complete redesign element, but the structure is there. The question is, what do we do is there something that can be done to really help make Breakwater a tourist attraction, which is going to be good for business, something that people are going to want to see. And just to think about it, you guys are outstanding at this kind of creative thinking about your projects and what they present to the public, etc. So I would just think that might be worth a thought, to really, expand on that notion, substantially, and try to create something to see as well as somewhere to shop.
Agreed. Thank you.
Please, Ms. Bragg.
This certainly plants the seed for the mural concept throughout the community. So, we don't have to have all our murals on one building. Cal-Am could have thought about a mural. Jesus down at the beach, there's a mural down there. So this, again, it certainly plants the seed for the opportunity for more murals.
Please.
Seeing how we're talking about the glass, before rumors start, the frosting's to limit glare, I would assume.
Well, for 2 reasons. Certainly to limit glare. Actually, there's 3 reasons. Certainly to limit glare. Also, you don't really want to see through it if it's lit at night. A lot of people have seen these things where they do a clock tower, looks great during the day, and at night there's a light inside and you're seeing the inside of a structure. So you're better off doing a frosting on the inside, so it looks like it's sandblasted glass. And lastly, if we are successful, if Sudbury Properties is successful in having a wireless provider go there, that would sit up inside there, and the frosted glass conceals it, so you never know it's there.
I just could kind of see what the neighborhood right behind that area would say with a glass top, seeing how our sun is predominantly in the south, could have a potential for glare. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Mr. Hall, did you have something?
Yeah, a couple of things. I did have a long evening discussion one night with Estine when I first got here, and I've never seen a city council that takes their mission statement more serious, and it's very, very appropriate mission statement for our community, which is to create and enhance classic Southern California right here in Imperial Beach. And I know I can see you guys are trying to do that. I did want to say that I think the design is very classic Southern California, and we're talking about murals and what should go there. One of the things we've tried to do in our process is streamline the process so that you don't have to go through a lot of boards and a lot of meetings and whatnot. And typically a project like this would only come to the city council once for design, and then we move along. However, it sounds like there's a lot of interest in at least one design feature in this project. Obviously, you just showed things as representative. Maybe we could at least come back and talk a little bit more specifically about the murals themselves once you have identified, whether or not they would be pictures, whether or not they would simply be caricatures or whatever you might say. Because again, I know you guys are looking forward to putting some of the finishing touches on design so that you can move forward. But certainly the design element of murals is a little bit new to us, and to decide something tonight might be a little bit difficult because we're not exactly sure of the size, the kind of whether or not the clarity, whether or not it's going to be picturesque or whether or not it's going to be more caricature. And so it might be good to maybe bring back some discussion on the murals themselves, just knowing they're going to be part of the project.
I don't hesitate to speak for Estine. We'd be happy to do so, because I think the intent of these murals is they're not ours, they're yours, they're the community's. And so I think we'd really there's always a difficulty of design by committee, but certainly anything that's being proposed there, I think we would appreciate the input.
Well, we pride ourselves on moving developments through the process as expeditiously as possible, being streamlined. By the same token, this is kind of a new idea for us, and we want to take advantage of that. And again, not trying to put another requirement on you, but it'd be a good thing for the council maybe to digest a little bit.
If I could, just from a staff perspective, and one of the comments that was made by Mr. Foltz, just for thinking in the future, if and when we come back with something, staff was drawn to the pier element for a couple of reasons, and one being that it was a specific element from Imperial Beach, that it had a historic element, and the color of it, this black and white or sepia image, also connotes sort of a historic photograph. In City Hall, you see all these black and white photos, and they're some of the most interesting and appealing pictures, and we felt that was a good application. Not to compare us to Pacific Beach, but there is a mural on one of their major buildings, on one of the major thoroughfares, that's a picture of the city or that street back from the 1930s. And it's a really cool, evocative image because the buildings are still there. And so that was the kind of thing that we were thinking about. And sandcastles, we just thought the image of a black and white sepia has that history to it, and we thought you could do a number of things with that kind of thought.
Well, what I'm hearing is, if you're willing to come back to us with a time frame when you know what the sizes and locations and things like that up, and get it so that we can get some input into that, and consider that you brought up the design by committee problem. Give yourself enough time here, because that committee might not be able to make a decision in one shoot, right?
It's not a problem, and we're happy to do so.
But we're excited about that part. I think that would, everybody okay with that? Because I know that the staff is asking us to make a motion and approve the design and the facade modifications. Please, Mr. Bilber.
I just want to make sure that I thank you guys for sticking it out with us. If you guys had backed off, we would have lost this whole project. I was just sitting up here thinking I was 25 at the time. In my ripe old age of 29, I'm glad to see that we're finally moving ahead with this. So thank you.
I'm not going to tell you how old I am.
Neither am I.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
Do you want to say something?
Go ahead, Estine, please, please.
Resist.
No, I can't resist because of the relationships. One thing that we were remiss to mention to you, what we decided is, you look around and you see this architecture like we have around, and we wanted to get ahead of the curve. We wanted something that was eclectic, hip, vibey, something that we hope would be a platform for Imperial Beach to get ahead of everybody else. And in the process, I have to say this because that clock was really big in our discussions with Andy and I, and the lifeguard station, and we took that, we found an example in La Jolla that we really liked. It was probably one of the newest and most vibey ones, and that's where we started thinking about this. That's truth. And then also on the piece that goes like this, that's the pier. It's supposed to represent the pier. So what we tried to do is find little elements like that. So when you asked us to do things with murals, that was just one building. We're honored and happy to do whatever is best for the community and you'd like us to do with the murals, and because we think it's going to take us to the next level. One last thing I have to say is I had the privilege to stay at the new hotel and to have a number of nights down there, and we were there was a gentleman that came in town that is people recognize, let's say, and in the process another gentleman came in the elevator when we were in there too, a guy named Steve Garvey. And so all of a sudden this conversation started about maybe this is the city, the beach area of stars. And that's, we're thinking, how can we get that kind of recognition going on in Imperial Beach where the stars want to hang out here and get away from all of the madness, you know what I mean? And so there's a lot of great ideas, and you couldn't have a better man to design something on the, because he did the 75-foot tower at the Village Walk and that whole center. So we're here with you. We'll do whatever you want. We're honored and thankful, and we want the community to be really excited about the murals, as many and whatever kinds we want to have here. So,
Thanks. Keep bringing those folks. When you mentioned that some of us recognize, I'm not sure about the young gentleman here. Rosie was a little older than the rest of us.
That one was the actor on Webster or something.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the design and facade modifications and determine that the revised plans substantially conform with the approved plans for administrative coastal permit number 110024, design review case 110025, and site plan review 110026, and a couple more. All right, staff recommendation. We have a motion and a second. Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Thank you. And I think Mr. Bilbray hit it right on the nose. I mean, for a developer to sit by and wait to determine whether the state of California gives you a thumbs up or a thumbs down more than once for what appears to be almost 5 years, we really do appreciate that. So thank you very much, and let Tom and Colton know that too. We have 2 items that were pulled from consent. The first item is item 2.4. Mr. Levine, please.
Mayor and Council, this is a project that is a continuing effort to improve the infrastructure of our sewer system. This particular project are mains that were identified as severely damaged and high infiltration and areas within the city that were identified through one of the most recent closed-circuit TV projects that we've done. Closed-circuit TVs work that we've done. The bid came in under the engineer's estimate, about $30,000, and we're comfortable with the contractor. I think he can do the work, and recommending that you approve the resolution and move forward with the work.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. I think that's what Mr. Spriggs was looking for, is a description of what this item was, because there is a large price tag on it. I think you pretty much gave that, unless you have some more specific questions.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Levine.
I can tell you that there are 3 main lines here that are behind people's properties, and I'll be working with those properties. They're through an easement, but there's no access except through their yard. So we'll be working with those 3 property owners to how we do that.
But I know that you'll figure out a way around it. And when it comes to maintaining our sewer system, I think you and your staff have done a great job on that. And I know it can be expensive once in a while, but I think that we can pride ourselves that we don't have some of the same issues that some of our neighboring cities get into. So That's why we spend the money.
And Mr. Bilbray and I were just saying on the side that those 3 lucky neighbors are going to get new fences or new grass or something as a result of your tearing up their backyards, right? They'll get restoration, in other words.
Well, thank you. So what we have before us on 2.4 is adopt resolution 2014-7515. A motion is second. Could we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
And I believe on item 2.5, Mr. Spriggs, you were just trying to make a point that this is important. It's something that we do, but it's not something that we should take lightly. Is that correct?
Correct. This has to do with our environment and a lot of volunteer effort to address the Tijuana River Action Month for October and your proclamation to that effect. And I think it's the kind of thing that our community cares about very much, and we should proclaim it.
And I think that's what we're doing, and I know you get involved in quite a bit down there, and I think our partnerships throughout the region are important. The one with the folks that run the Tijuana River assets down there has been really good, and I'm not sure if everybody remembers we even helped facilitate the fact that the Tijuana River Valley is a sister estuary with the folks down in Los Cabos now. That was the idea of starting the process. Sister cities are something that they have. As Mr. Hall told me, it's not an easy process because somebody established rules. Sister estuaries were a lot simpler, and they stepped out in front. The mayor down there has the difference versus our city. The estuary is in the city jurisdiction, so he really wanted to do that, and the folks down here in our estuary really accommodated him on that one too. So, please.
Are these dates, these upcoming events, going to be on our website? Where's Ed? There you are. Are they? Okay. Thank you.
That was just an information item, I believe. No action. I know, Chris, you wanted to say something, but that's all right. You were prepared, right?
I didn't want to stretch our meeting out longer, but it'd be good if Mr. Helmer could at least read the dates and events that are in the report for those who haven't, or who are watching, the thousands who are watching this meeting.
All right, hold on a sec. I got to get a copy of it.
Oh.
I will read them for you.
All right.
Here we go, Miss. On September 20th, we have Coastal Cleanup Day, Borderfield State Park and Dairy Mart Road Bridge at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Help me on the next one. I can't pronounce that. We also have a native species planting, Monument Mesa and Borderfield State Park from 11 to 1. And Mr. Helmer, you got it now?
Yeah. And then September 26th, we have a composting workshop and waste collection event in Tijuana. September 27th, there's a National Public Lands Day and also native plant restoration at Borderfield State Park. October 4th, there's IFMA Trail cleanup. It's a cleanup event, the Tijuana River Valley. October 11th, there's a Goat Canyon cleanup event at Borderfield State Park. A butterfly release event down in Playa de Tijuana. An event happening in Playa de Tijuana all day. And a Borderfield Gateway ceremony and volunteer appreciation party where everyone gets together at the end of the event to celebrate. And there's also be I think a media event at that same time. And that's at Friendship Park.
Thank you very much. I think that for those that like to volunteer, and I know there's lots of folks here in Imperial Beach that do, and those that haven't had the opportunity, Borderfield State Park is not open all the time, and obviously for these events it will be, so take advantage of that. It's a beautiful site down there. That concludes our meeting. Meeting is adjourned. Yeah.